Hey everybody, Super Squee here of the Over Emotional Gamer channel on YouTube. I'm gonna do things a little bit differently this time because of the like-pocalypse that happened last video, because I just kept spacing out. I didn't feel good that day either, but I just kind of said like forever and ever and ever again. So I'm actually gonna read the posts that I originally did for each of the things in this video, and then from there, if I have anything else to say on top of that, I will, but I feel like a lot of times I do a really good job of going over everything I want to say in these, so it'll just be easier to read this and then add to or say something else, like if I have a different opinion on something nowadays, or at this point. So, always, sometimes, monsters. God, this game is a drag. I kept playing it, getting pulled in slightly over and over, wanting it to get better, but I just never did. The only thing I actually truly loved about this game was the soundtrack. The soundtrack is fantastic. Everything else just seems so poorly executed. So many parts of the game seem half-finished, or just like someone gave up caring halfway through an area. I also felt the choices ultimately were kind of pointless. I know the game has good ending, but some of the choices just backhand you in the most jarring ways. Like, holy fuck, like the outcome of a choice 9 times out of 10 ends up being way different than what you would have figured the choice would do. The script, terrible. I feel like these creators could have made something amazing, but this game just ended up feeling like a bloated mass of bullshit that didn't know if it wanted to be serious or goofy. Big spoiler. I laughed my ass off when all those kids lost their dad, simply because the scene was written and played out so poorly. I wanted this to be something it isn't. Whoever made the music for this, though, that person or persons is the MVP. Always, sometimes, monsters is not worth your time. I have truly wasted 9 hours of my life. I felt like there were a lot of cool things in this game. It started out with so much that you could think, oh, okay, so they want to do this, or no, I have the option to do this, and they try to say that there's a lot of choice in this game, but it's like all the choices you make don't actually impact the game the way that you think it would, or the choices don't make any sense in the context, or like you do the thing that seems like what you should do to not get in trouble or fuck something up, and it does the complete opposite, and it's just like they're slapping you in the face for no fucking reason. And I don't understand why this game got so much praise. Like, I don't even think it looks great most of the time. It just doesn't seem finished. There are a lot of cool ideas. There's a lot of cool aesthetic choices. And, like, the music is really cool, and there's there's some interesting shit here, but they don't ever do anything good with it, I feel. And I've heard there's supposed to be a sequel, and I've seen, like, a snippet trailer or some shit, but, like, I don't know what that's going to be like. And since I played this one, I'll probably play that one. But I'm kind of like, because they've already soured it. So hopefully they listen to the actual criticisms people have, the few people that seem to criticize this game, and not just be like, oh yeah, suck the dick because it's so tasty. Because it ain't. It ain't. There's all kinds of smegma on that dick, and you need to stop. Let's see. Alpha Protocol. Let me get to the actual post, because I uploaded shit tons of photos of this damn game because I had so much fun. About 10 or 11 years ago, Jesus, that feels strange to type, I read an article in Game Informer hyping up a new spy RPG from Obsidian Entertainment. At the time, didn't really mean anything to me, didn't seem like my kind of game. But I also remember some months later when the game came out and reviewers just hating it hard. I always thought the game must be garbage with that many bad reviews. Damn, was I wrong. I absolutely love this game. No, it isn't perfect, and I can see where opportunities were missed, but I felt like a lot of love went into Alpha Protocol. It feels like playing an old spy movie, which was something I never knew I wanted to do. Not a fan of the gun damage. It seemed a bit low, and I ended up going for a bruiser character because hand-to-hand combat seemed incredibly overpowered. I'd sneak in the shadows and beat down my enemies. I mostly took the non-lethal route and made as many allies as I could. I love the characters in this game and their designs and their voice actors. The voice work is probably my favorite thing about this game. If you want a fun espionage RPG with interesting dialogue choices and don't mind the rough edges and that takes less than 15 hours to finish, you should definitely check this one out. Okay, so this game has, it's like a third-person action RPG game. You have like skill trees and stuff that you can unlock, and it's made by the same people that I believe this is the same company that did the original Fallout games, and also did Fallout New Vegas and Tyranny and a couple other things. But it's a pretty good game. If you don't like go in expecting it to be like some crazy awesome AAA title, which I think it might have been supposed to be a AAA title at the time. If you don't go in expecting like a whole lot, I feel like you'll come out of it still having fun. The gameplay is really, really cool, and even when I upgraded my guns and shit, I feel like the gun damage wasn't necessarily good, even on lower difficulties, which kind of was like where it was like I'd take a couple shots at a guy and he still had like damn near full health, but if I beat the shit out of him with my fists, he was dead in like 5 seconds. So I didn't get it, but it was enjoyable. Honestly, half the time I forget that I even played this game. Like on a regular basis, I forget that I played this game. Honestly, Guitar Hero Van Halen was complete trash. You'd think they would have put more heart into it, especially since way back when Guitar Hero first came out, they had wanted to make a Van Halen game. It's got some good songs, the difficulty is solid, but the presentation and the product you get in the end just feel like it lacks soul. I mean, hell, even the creators of the game knew it was shit, considering they made it free with a pre-order of Guitar Hero 5, which I didn't even know. I didn't know that this game came out that quickly after 5. I don't like the UI in this. Like, even though like it seems very similar, I don't like how the characters are designed. Like, it doesn't look terrible, but it just feels like there's something off, and like they just shot this one out really quickly after they were working on the other stuff, and it feels gross. Like, it feels gross to play. I don't know how to explain it other than that. And I like Van Halen. The music's pretty good. Like, it's not one of my favorites, but like I know it's kind of like an iconic band, so it's weird that they treated this property so shittily. Like, it feels like whoever they had working on it didn't even want to work on it, or maybe like Van Halen just wasn't great to work with, or it could have also been Activision just sticking their nose where it doesn't belong again and being fucking dummies. And then we have a good music game. The Beatles Rock Band was an absolute joy, and since me and my friend Chris finished it the same day we started it, we got the trophy Day Tripper. The visual representation this game shows off, and the selection of Beatles tunes they choose were absolutely amazing. I'm extremely happy Chris suggested this one. It was definitely a great way to wash the foul taste of Guitar Hero Van Halen out of our mouths. And the bottom part doesn't matter. So I had a lot of fun with this one. I'm not like the biggest Beatles fan. I seem to like some of their songs that aren't as popular. God, I can't remember. It's like I don't even listen to them that often. So my favorite song by them, I can't even remember the title of. I just know it's never on any of their like top 10 Beatles songs or any shit like that. But yeah, like I said in the post, like the visual side of this game is just absolutely incredible. It looks really nice. I've always enjoyed Rock Band's choice to go kind of cartoony and like have a really nice like art style to go with their game, as opposed to like Guitar Hero went from having something cool and cartoony to trying to make it be real, and then hitting like somewhere in between where it kind of looks gross. And I feel like Guitar Hero 5, they started reeling it in again where like it kind of looked better, and then by the time you got to Warriors of Rock, which was the last one until they did the weird ass 5-string new guitar for the new generations or whatever, then it like kind of got its visual style back, but they still had the really shitty, off-putting looking creative characters. Whereas in these games, the ones that do have creatable characters, it's like they're the same art style as the main characters, but it's like the visual fidelity in Guitar Hero between their original characters and the characters you can create are just so fucking jaunting, and it looks absolutely disgusting. The Fly. Hot damn The Fly. I'd seen scenes from this movie and like heard things, but I'd never watched it before, and I was extremely impressed. I have an even bigger irrational fear of maggots now, but hey, got an enjoyable movie out of the experience. Definitely some of my favorite sci-fi, one of my favorite sci-fi movies I've ever seen. Also, Papa Goldblum. So, the basic premise of this movie is that Jeff Goldblum's character, who is like a scientist, is trying to figure out like instant teleportation, and he has two different pods, and he's been testing them and stuff, and he tests like a monkey, and the monkey ends up getting like cut in half or flipped inside out. Like, it's gross and scary. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what happens, but basically he gets something to go through it properly, and he's like, okay, I need to test a human subject. And he's like, fuck it, like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it. Like, and he does it himself. And he's not the only thing in the pod, and it causes all kinds of weird shit to happen later down the line. So, yeah. Wow. The Japanese movie poster for Across the Universe is way better, which I did not use here, and it is way better, and you'll have to go look that up if you want to see it. I hyped this one up to Chris. I'm glad it didn't turn out to be a total stinker to him, and he had valid complaints. It doesn't hold up as well as I remember, but I still really love this movie. It got me through a tough time once, and I love the amount of creativity that went into it, and I love the cast. Symbolism ho! So, I really enjoy this movie still to this day, but it's not as great as I remember it. I think I was just in a different place, and I was like a love-struck teenager, and it was just like, ooh, goo goo gaga, kiss me, pretty symbolism and music, and there are great scenes in this movie, and I think there's a lot of cool artistic shit that they do with this movie. And I really like how they incorporate Beatles songs into it to tell a story. So we ended up watching this because we finished Beatles Rock Band, and I like hyped this movie up to my friend Chris. And then it ended up being like, well, it's not terrible, but wow, this is not as good as I remember it being. So I feel like it's definitely worth a watch if you like the Beatles and shit like that. But other than that, it's not something that you have to see. First off, I didn't even know this damn movie was already being made. Second, I didn't know Netflix were helping with it. Third, god damn it, it was a cop-out to explain everything, but that cop-out was still pretty cool, I guess. As soon as I saw the ring of the space station and the open windows with the light, I was like, that looks like the God Particle machine. Guess what? It fucking was, and then I proceeded to call every fucking thing that happened in this movie. Every single fucking plot point I called. That said, I super enjoyed this, and I'm super cool with how all three films were a different style of movie. Oh, and I'm talking about the Cloverfield Paradox. I don't know if I'd call it a good movie. I like it, but I will call it a fun movie that does, even if I see them as a cop-out, explain pretty well the crazy shit from the first two films. Oh, and props to the scene with the water that I thought they were going to fuck up, but I was surprised that they did some research. By the way, it's called a Hadron Collider. Okay, so I know this movie and blah 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 10 Cloverfield Lane, whatever the full title of the last movie were. I know that technically, and in case you didn't know, they were not Cloverfield movies to begin with. They were like cool scripts that I guess J.J. Abrams picked up and then decided to transition into connecting to his like Cloverfield mythos. So like they're rough around the edges. And I feel like they're cool enough that they could have like been produced on their own, but I still enjoy that they're in the same mythos, even if it doesn't completely make sense all the time. And regardless, I think 10 Cloverfield Lane is a very good movie, an absolutely amazing movie, like by itself. It doesn't need any connections. This movie was like an alright sci-fi movie that I enjoyed a lot, that probably could have been made on its own merits and people would have still enjoyed it. The first movie I know is like hit or miss for people because of like the found footage nature and just like it's just weird. But I enjoyed all three movies, though like the second movie is definitely the best. If you just want a weird like sci-fi movie that has some cool spooky elements, whether you've seen the Cloverfield movies or not, like, if you have Netflix, you can spend, like, your time worse with other shit, so. Let's see what we got now. Oh, there we go. Audiosurf. I feel like a lot of people probably have experience with this game, at least a little bit, especially if you like music a lot. It is just like a little block collecting game with several different difficulties and different cars that you can use that have different abilities, and you just collect colored blocks to get matching sets of colors. It's like a puzzle rhythm game, and it plays your music. So whatever you have on your computer, audio files, like it'll generate the track to your music. I remember when Audiosurf first came out, I was a freshman in high school, and I was sucked in by the mere fact that you could play the game using your own MP3s. That was just beyond amazing to me as someone who adopted Guitar Hero pretty late, and I even just knowing bands and genres pretty late, it was like some kind of musical renaissance just for me. The original play with your own music game, no story, no extra frills, just tons of difficulty choices and extensive leaderboards. If you have a passion for music and want something to be able to play along with it, Audiosurf is extremely easy to pick up and drop. Wow, I guess I've just fucking wrote this weird. It's extremely easy to pick up and put down, and to enjoy it either way. And then I had like a list of the songs I played when I did that, but that is of no note to this list. But yeah, I think Audiosurf's a really good game. It's if you like music games, you can do worse. It's very cheap. I would wait for it to be on sale on a Steam sale solely because the second one's out and does everything the first one does, but more. So if you want to see the first one, get it for like $2 or 99 cents or whenever it's like on a super low sale. But otherwise, stick to the second one at this point. Not because it's not good, just because Audiosurf 2 is literally this game plus more. So there's no like specific reason to play the first one over the second one. This game has beautiful art style, and then now I'm gonna read the post just in case yeah. I remember enjoying Bastion way more when I only had a handful of games on my Steam account, and very crappy desktop computer that would barely run anything. I still like it, and nothing is wrong with the game, I just feel like it isn't my cup of tea anymore. That said, it has wonderful music, incredible art assets, and a solid combat system with plenty of weapons to choose from so you can play how you want to play. There's a good chunk of replayability as well, and a system in place to crank the difficulty to ludicrous levels for bonus experience if you so desire. If you want to have a unique adventure, if you want to have a unique adventure, you can finish in a long day or over a weekend. This is an exceptional title for a very good price. I feel like I said all that I needed to say. Okay, so my original post is mildly problematic because James Woods is a piece of shit. I didn't praise him or anything. My post literally just says, I love Greek mythology and James Woods. I like James Woods as an actor. He plays a great villain, and I like hearing his voice. But I do not like him as a person. This is a really good Disney animated movie. I love Greek mythology. I love mythology in general, so it's just fun to see like crazy colorful nature of all this and getting to hear these really great voice actors, which I don't know what else she's done over the years. I think I've looked up stuff and it's not a lot of stuff that I know, but Megara in this is also Rose Quartz in Steven Universe. If you're a Steven Universe fan and you had not noticed that or realized that, I love hearing fucking Danny DeVito's voice as Phil. I always fucking forget his name, but Cat Goldwait or some shit is Pain or Panic. I can't remember which one is which. Forgive me, please. And I love Hercules' voice actor. He's been in a couple other things and popped up in different places. And I think he was on several episodes of Friends at some point as a regular character that was on there. I don't know what came first, him on there or him in this, but this is a good Disney classic movie. I enjoy it a lot. I feel like it's decently written and it's good for kids or adults, so good family movie. And I believe this may be the last thing for this video. Theatrhythm Final Fantasy is such a wonderful little music game for the 3DS. The music is great, and if you're a rhythm game fanatic and haven't played any Final Fantasy games, I feel like it still has a lot to offer in challenge and content. I hope to play the sequel soon since it's only $10 from GameStop. Also, all the sprites are such cutie pies. So, the sprites I still feel look a little bit weird, but they are cute. I think it's just because I'm not used to this style, but it's like your playable characters all look adorable. But like that Sephiroth over there on the left looks real gross, and I don't like looking at it. And some of the monsters just look really funny. There's like an arcade game of this now in Japan. I think it's been out for several years, where it's just this giant arcade machine with like tons of little Final Fantasy characters running across, and you have these big buttons on the machine that do all of like the rhythm movements and shit. And I think that's incredible. I would still love ooh, sorry. I would still love to get the sequel for this, because I would enjoy to play more of the Final Fantasy music. It's very good. And at this point, I have played more Final Fantasies, like more of the original ones, since, so I feel like I don't know, I guess I have more of a respect for some of the earlier music. It's not like any Final Fantasy music's necessarily bad, it's just like I didn't have a personal connection to it before I had actually played like 1, 2, 3, and 4 at this point. I have not finished 5 or 6, never finished 8 or 9. So, like, I've played some of them in between, but never actually finished them. So, it's just nice to actually play a music genre game like this for Final Fantasy. Listen to the music and be like, oh, I remember that music. I remember playing the part with blah, blah, blah that had this music. And it gives me a better connection. Whereas, at the time that I got this game originally, it was mostly just like, I know Final Fantasy 7 and 10, and I know them all the way through. So it's like, I have connections to these 2 set lists, and that's it. And I still enjoyed the game, but I felt like it was lackluster for me because I expected it to be more than it was. It's got slight RPG elements, and you make like a little 4-person team and do shit like that with it. But, oh, excuse me. But mostly you're just going to be swiping the screen with your stylus like you're a composer playing with the music. It's very simple gameplay, but it does crank up pretty hard when you get to the higher difficulties. I did play my playthrough on the hard difficulty because I'm used to rhythm games, but there's a difficulty for everybody. And if you want crazy challenges, there are like super hard mode like challenges that you can unlock. And then, oh, I clicked the button and there's nothing else there, and my computer's not frozen because the mouse is moving. So, that'll be it for this video. Thank you for watching. I enjoyed doing it this way better, where I read the post and then talked about it. I hope you did too, because that's probably what I'm going to do going forward. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye!